This is the Self-Aware Leader Podcast. Now your host, Jason Rigby.
How to become a creative thinker. I'm going to give you some action items. And I know a lot of us like to look at creativity and we like to say, you know, I wish I could be more creative. I think all of us would have that moment inside of each of ourselves as we're becoming more self-aware, where we kind of enjoy the chaos, enjoy the creativity part, and we're like, I wish I could think differently. I wish I could think out of the box, and you know, I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again. I wish I could be more creative in my life. Well, I want to give you a creative thinking action plan, and this comes from John Maxwell. You guys know I love him, a thought leader, leadership guru, if you want to use that word. And he has a workbook called How Successful People Think. It's a book and a workbook. And he talks about this creative thinking action plan. And I want to go over with you today quickly because I think that one of these points is going to cause you to have a little spark. And that's all I want to do is create a spark right now inside of you to think out of the box and become a little bit more creative. So number one, find or foster a creative environment. And he says, does your work environment naturally encourage creativity or shut it down? If it doesn't encourage creativity, you need to make some changes. I think number one is your office. These are quick changes. You can literally go to Home Depot, buy a gallon of paint, and find creative color that you love that seems absolutely beautiful. Take a little work, move everything out of your workplace and repaint your walls. You could do that one thing and enjoy that color. Maybe you could, and it'd be very, very inexpensive, just painting. Maybe moving the furniture around. Maybe getting it organized so you feel more creative. What does that look like? Maybe including some art space in your office with art that you like to do or some hobby that you like to do. What makes you feel more creative in that space where you're working, that work environment? How do you naturally encourage that? What does that look like? Maybe you need to find other creative people to spend time with. And that can be included in your work environment. And if not, if you can't have other creative people working around you, then look outside and find those creative people and work with them. You know, maybe you want to attend a pottery class or maybe an art class. And you're going to set aside Saturday afternoons to go to art class once a week. And you're going to commit to that, and that's your creative outlet. Whatever it may be. Maybe you want to work with some extremely creative people that you're happy with, and you're at work, you schedule a time where you do creativity exercises with them in the lunchroom during lunchtime. Or maybe you're going to have where you're going to take problems that you have as a leader, and you're going to have the three most creative people that you know that are on your team that you're a leader over, and you're going to bring them in, and you're going to have like a little creativity mind meld, and you guys are going to get together and you're going to work on solving these problems. See, there's so many ways that you can do this. You just have to think creative about it. And brainstorming sessions are amazing. And introducing play, joking around, and letting people be able to share their ideas, even if it sounds frivolous. Because creativity will always lead to innovation. Whether we look at the technology, whatever we see in the world today, those beautiful things that we all enjoy is all based off of creativity and innovation. And creativity leads to innovation, and that leads to improved strategies, products, services, all within the organization. So number one, find or foster a creative environment. Number two, John Maxwell says, do something different. One of the best ways to stimulate creative thinking is to get out of your routine or out of your area of expertise. Learning opens up your thinking. This is so important to do, guys. I did this with jiu-jitsu. I felt like a fish out of the water. It's like a puzzle, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I have somebody on top of me, and I encourage you, and it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be, you need to do something that's hard, that will challenge your brain to think in a new way. If you're a left brain person, you need to go schedule and do things that are right brained. If you're a right brain person, go and schedule and do things that are left brain. Learning, being a learning leader, opens up your thinking. Read books outside of your field. Find a new hobby. Learn a new skill. Do something you've dreamed of since you were a child. Go on a vacation where the culture is totally different from your own. Get uncomfortable. Get in over your head. Expose yourself to things that will stretch your mind and get you out of the comfort zone. So number 1, find or foster a creative environment. Number 2, do something different. Number 3, ask yourself more questions. Creativity often comes from asking more questions. You must challenge yourself and others in order to think in a different way. Create a list of questions that you can use to stimulate your thinking. And I'm going to give you a few now. And you can write these down or pause. Go grab a pen and paper, pause this right now, and then come back. And I'll say these slowly. I'm going to give you just a few questions, and this will help you have a creativity exercise, maybe for a problem you have at work or whatever it may be. But here we go. Number 1, why must it be done this way? Why must it be done this way? Number 2, what is the root problem? What is the root problem? Number 3, what are the underlying issues? This is a great question to ask your team when you're in a team meeting and you're doing Socratic teaching and you're just asking questions and you're being quiet and you're letting most everybody talk. What are the underlying issues? I love that one. Next, what does this remind me of? This is another good one, especially in marketing. I like to use this one. What is the opposite? What is the opposite? Somebody comes up with a great idea. Boom, boom, boom. Say let's do a creativity exercise right now, and let's say what is the opposite. I've had so many breakthroughs by reverse engineering it in the opposite. Next, what metaphor or symbol helps to explain it? We love symbols and metaphors. What metaphor or symbol helps to explain it? This is a very good self-aware question. Why is it important? Dig deep on that one. Go down the rabbit hole. Let your people have fun with this one. Why is it important? Next, this one's a fun one too. Your people are going to absolutely love this, especially if you have a project. What's the hardest or most expensive way to do it? Don't you love that one, guys? Isn't that a fun exercise with the whiteboard? What's the hardest or most expensive way to do it? Next, this is a good one. Who has a different perspective on this? And if somebody can pinpoint one person, or you have 3 or 4 people in that meeting and they say, no, this person would have a really good different perspective on it, that person needs to be added to the group. They need to be brought in because you always want to have different perspectives. And then last question is, what happens if we don't do it at all? What happens if we don't do it at all? So ask more creative questions, guys. And there are so many that you can look up that will help you to be able to see exactly what creative thinking is. And I encourage you guys, one of the things that you can do, and I'm going to give you some discussion questions, and John Maxwell has these in How Successful People Think workbook. And these are great ones to ask your team. When you hear the word creativity, what do you think of? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself when it comes to creativity? What is your greatest challenge when it comes to creative thinking? When do you feel most creative? You should know this with all your team members. If you're a leader of leaders, you should know this about your leaders. If you have a team of 3 people, you should know what makes them feel more creative. And then how can you as a leader foster that? And then what changes as a leader can you empower others to make in their environment, their working habits, their leisure time, whatever it is, to have more creative thinking? And then get a piece of paper and a pen. When will you make these changes? Don't procrastinate. I'm telling you right now, find ways. If you want to be more creative, rearrange your workspace. So simple to do. It's an easy thing to do. You can do that right now. It's free to ask these questions to your team, to pull them in. It's free to go grab 3 or 4 different people that you know are extremely creative and have a creative mastermind and go over projects, go over anything that you want to have. And you're going to tell them, guys, you're my creative mastermind. We're going to have, when an issue happens or we need to think out of the box or something's going on with the organization, I'm bringing you guys in. And this is a creative mastermind. This is who it is. If we all vote and we feel like we need to add somebody to it, which I encourage us to do, we'll all vote and we all have to agree on it. And we want to grow the creative mastermind. We don't want it just to be us, because then that's not creative, right? These are beautiful things that you can do. And I encourage you guys, always be learning. Always be learning, because the learning will foster the creativity.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Aware Leader Podcast with host Jason Rigby. We hope this episode has inspired you to unleash your full potential and embrace your inner leadership. By expanding your consciousness, you can transform your mind, body, and soul and become the remarkable leader you were always meant to be. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with your loved ones and help us expand our community. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you join us again on the Self-Aware Leader Podcast.